Hi friends and subscribers, I hope you're all doing well. So in this video I'm going to be listing 5 albums that I didn't like or wasn't a fan of on first listen that I either like or love now. So yeah, I've chosen 5 albums. It's not in any particular order, I just picked them out of, they're just in random, but we're going to get right into it. So yeah, the first one I'm going to talk about is Days of Future Past by the Moody Blues. So their debut, well, it's actually their second album, but a lot of people, myself included, consider this their true debut album because it's the first album with Justin Hayward on vocals after the departure of Denny Laine, who was on the first album, and this is the first album where they started going in that psychedelic progressive rock direction, which is what they're known for, because their first album was a straight up pop album. It wasn't a psychedelic prog album. But anyway, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of this on first listen. It took me quite a few listens to actually appreciate this album. I think it was mainly the orchestra that you hear at the beginning of every song on here. Yeah, this was recorded with the London Festival Orchestra, and yeah, I think it was the orchestra that I wasn't a fan of. But the more I listen to it, I feel that the orchestra actually really adds to this album. The songs on here are great as well. I mean, yeah, you've got Nights in White Satin. Yeah, it's a great song, but I actually prefer songs like Peak Hour, which is the lunch break track. So, and you also got Another Morning. Yeah, I really like this album. That's probably my favourite Moody Blues album. But I think this kind of goes for all Moody Blues albums. I mean, it took me a long time to appreciate them as a band. It took a few listens to appreciate them. But yeah, I really like this album a lot now. This is really good. Next one is Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Yeah, I mean, Pink Floyd in general, it took me a few listens to actually appreciate them. But yeah, this is the album I chose. But yeah, obviously, I love this album now. But yeah, it's not my favourite Pink Floyd album. It's never been my favourite Pink Floyd album. It's probably my 4th favourite Pink Floyd album. So yeah, it's in my top 4, but it's never been number 1 for me. Just because there's I think they have other albums that I prefer. But yeah, it's still a great album, and I do enjoy it from start to finish. But yeah, I wasn't keen on it on first listen, but it took me a few listens to appreciate this, and also Pink Floyd in general. I started out, before I started like listening to their music properly, I always liked, Another Brick in the Wall Part 2. But apart from that, I wasn't really a Floyd fan. But yeah, so that's Dark Side of the Moon. Yeah, I love it now. But yeah, it's not my favourite Floyd album. Next one is The Who, Tommy. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of this on first listen either, apart from the obvious tracks like Pinball Wizard and I'm Free, which I always loved. It took me a few listens to appreciate the whole album, and now it's my second favourite Who album now. I absolutely love it. I love the concept of the album. It's just such a great story. Tommy, deaf, dumb, blind kid. But yeah, it's a great album now. I love it. Next one is AC/DC's Stiff Upper Lip. Not one of their most popular albums. I don't see a lot of people rank this as one of their favourite AC/DC albums. It's not one of mine, but Yeah, I wasn't a fan of this album on first listen. This is the second AC/DC album I heard. Before this, I'd heard Power Rage. That was the first AC/DC album I heard, and I absolutely loved Power Rage. And that's still my favourite AC/DC album to this day. And then I heard this, and I was like, yeah, it's alright. But yeah, I was just underwhelmed. But then I listened to it again years later. I'm like, you know what, this is actually really good. Again, it's not one of their best albums. It's not one of my absolute favourites. But then again, I personally don't think AC/DC ever made a bad album anyway. I think all of their albums are good. There's just some better than others, but I enjoy all of their stuff. But yeah, but it does have Satellite Blues, which is actually one of my favourite AC/DC songs. And the title track is also great. So, yeah, although not one of my favourites, I still think this is a really good album. I like this a lot. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is Aerosmith's Get a Grip. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of this album on first listen. In fact, I didn't actually like it. Yeah, I just didn't think it was very good. But then I listened to it again, and I was like, "Oh, do you know what? This isn't actually bad. This is actually pretty good." I mean, it's not one of my favourite Aerosmith albums. I mean, the later Aerosmith albums are not, my favourites. I love the 70s Aerosmith albums like Rocks and Toys in the Attic, Draw the Line. But this, it's a solid album. I do like this album quite a bit. But yeah, it's not an Aerosmith album that I put on very often, but I think it's solid. I think it's pretty good. So that's it. Those are 5 albums that I wasn't a fan of on first listen. So what about you? Did you have any albums that you were not a fan of on first listen that you like now? So I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.